Well, welcome back to the Post Secondary Transition Podcast, where we have conversations around the ins and outs and everything in between of the transition process for families of students with disabilities. I'm one of the hosts. My name is Meghan Smallwood.
And my name is Patrick Cadigan, and we are both public school transition coordinators.
That we are. And we are very fortunate to be able to have a discussion today with Kelly Nelson from Able Account. Kelly Nelson's worked in the field of disabilities for more than 30 years. She's served in many roles supporting people with disabilities and their families through advocacy, education, and connecting them to vital resources within their community. As a parent of a child with disabilities, Kelly is passionate about helping her daughter to become a confident self advocate. As the outreach and communications manager for Maryland Able, she's excited to connect with people with disabilities and their families to share with them how an Able account can be used to promote personal choice, independence, and financial stability. So, welcome, Kelly.
Well, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here tonight. This is definitely a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, as my daughter just transitioned out of the public school system in June. So I am getting my feet wet in the adult services world. So I've made that transition over, and I think it's so fresh in my mind, having gone through that transition years with my daughter, that I know how important it is to share resources with families about all the things that we need to know and those services as we head into the adult world. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, I think you just gave us a little insight into your background, but do you mind sharing just how you came about to be with Able Accounts and a little bit about your background professionally?
So I've worked in the disability field for many, many years. And my previous to Maryland Able, one of my most recent jobs was with Harford County Public School System. And I was in the family support department. And I had this opportunity. I was invited to interview for Maryland Able when it first launched back in 2017. And, it was something so exciting to me, because I knew that people with disabilities and their families, they faced, additional cost of caring for and raising a child with a disability, as I had as well. And, to be able to help families pay for those things and plan for the future, because, I think for all families, not only are we looking forward to that time when we transition into adult services and preparing our students and ourselves for that, but then families also have that additional thing that's always in the back of their mind that says, hey, right now we got everything covered. We're taking care of our child. We're parents. We're doing what parents do. But what happens decades from now when we're no longer here and they're here? How do we protect their benefits so that they have those moving forward and set them up for a future that we want for their lives and that they want for their lives? So Able was one of those ways that I could see it was a really helpful tool to make that happen.
And that is a very scary thing to think about. Every parent that I've talked to, that's a hard topic.
Where I would really like to begin this conversation is, Kelly, if you were talking to someone who is new to this topic, how would you define what an Able account is?
Well, I would say that Able accounts are a very helpful tool for families to begin to look at that future for their child. I mean, usually when we have a student in the school system and they have a disability, we don't always see families having those means-tested benefits currently in place for their child, because they are indeed that, means-tested benefits. So if your child is born or has been diagnosed with a disability, they may indeed have a qualifying disability. But if you were to apply for things such as Social Security, SSI benefits, lots of times families are denied because the Social Security Administration is going to be examining the entire family's income. So mom and dad's income, if they're working, sometimes just means that, yes, guys, you've got a qualifying disability here, but no, you don't qualify because of the income. We do know that when families apply again when their student turns 18, Social Security is going to be examining just that student's income. And it's obviously going to be way less than the family income, or maybe nothing at all. So we want to make sure that as we are taking care of our family members now, we're looking to the future to set them up for success when they are eligible for these means-tested benefits. And by that, I mean Social Security, SSI, And
Mhm.
Medicaid, that's that health insurance piece. And then oftentimes when people get Medicaid, they can qualify for additional Medicaid waivers, which are really critical moving forward into adult services. The
Yep.
challenge is that, the good part is when they receive those SSI benefits, they're going to get that monthly cash benefit. They'll get Medicaid and possibly other waivers. But the challenge has always been that person can never have more than $2,000 in assets. And I mean collectively, not, 2000 in this account and 2000 that, but I mean collectively. Because if they are to exceed that Social Security asset limitation, they immediately lose their Medicaid, the health insurance piece. And then after a period of time, if they don't spend that money down, then they lose their SSI cash benefits.
Mhm.
So ABLE accounts are a solution to that problem. It's one of the ways that families can to begin to plan and prepare for their future, save money in the child's own name, and still maintain those benefits. So that is really the most important, I guess, fundamental part about ABLE accounts is they are asset protection accounts, meaning your family member can now have above the $2,000 limit, actually all the way up to $100,000 in an ABLE account and still maintain those critical benefits.
An ABLE account then is different from a general savings account.
Absolutely. So money in a regular banking account, whether it be a checking account, a savings account, a 401k, anything like that, money in the child's name in those types of accounts are countable resources by Social Security and Medicaid. So that's why they can't have money in their own name. The only way that it was ever possible to be able to save for your child with a disability, and this is the OG, method, was a special needs trust. And that's been around for a couple of decades. The challenge is not everyone can afford to create a special needs trust right away. They are an investment of money because you're going to be working with an attorney and you're going to invest your time to create this document, and it takes several months. So eventually we see families usually winding up with both a special needs trust and an ABLE account. But an ABLE account you can get opened up in about 15 minutes online. And that's something that they can pick that low-lying fruit. That's what I always tell families. Guys, when you're raising a child with a disability, especially when you're getting close to transition age, just start pecking away one thing at a time of all the things on our to-do list. Start with that low-lying fruit. If you've got 15 minutes, you can get that account open, and then you can move assets from your child's name inside of
Mhm.
ABLE where it no longer counts. It's not countable as a resource by Social Security and Medicaid.
And that's a question I feel like I hear a lot from families. Well, how is this different? I have a special needs trust. Can I have
Mhm.
both? And it is a great option. And I think another question that I hear a lot from families is, well, I had a 529 started when they were born, but obviously I can't use that now. What do I do?
So with the 529 account, which is really nice, is that if mom or dad or grandparents open an account for a child when they were born and maybe perhaps college is not going to be their pathway, they can roll money over from that 529 account into an ABLE account. And now the money that was formerly earmarked for just education expenses can now be utilized for anything at all that's going to support their child in their health, their independence, or their overall quality of life. So it expands what that money can be used for. There is no fee to roll over the money from a 529 into ABLE. And a lot of people do that because, they're not really sure what's going to happen in the future. But let's just say mom and dad rolled that money over. Lo and behold, 10 years after they exit the high school system, they're going to go back to school. They're going to go to a community college. Oh, we had no idea. Darn it. We shouldn't have done this. It's okay because with an ABLE account, you can use the money in the ABLE account to pay for college, room and board, tuition, books, everything. So there's really no risk in, moving that 529 money into ABLE because you can still use it for education.
And that's another question I always hear. Well, what do I know what can it be used for? Is there a list somewhere to show me what it can be used for?
Yes, I know. I hear that question.
I'm sure you do.
And I always say, in some ways, I wish that the IRS would have published the 2,027 things you can do with an ABLE account, but they didn't. Instead, they gave us this criteria that the account owner or who's ever going to manage the account is going to ask before using that money. They just have to say, does this withdrawal, what I'm about to buy, the service I'm about to, purchase, does it support my son or daughter in his or her health, independence, or their quality of life? That's a very broad definition. And some people are like, I love that definition. That's great. I've got all kinds of ideas. Other people are like, oh my gosh, Kelly, that's just the worst thing I've ever heard. How do I know? Like, how do I know? And I just say, ask yourself, whatever it is, does it fit one of those criteria? Because then you are going to make that decision. So if you think about it, guys, health, we kind of got that, right? We know it's medical expenses, dental braces, all that kind of stuff. But, health can also include, health and wellness can include a gym membership, yoga classes, swimming lessons, therapeutic horseback riding, right? You got to think broader like that. And also, when you think of independence, that could be transportation, getting, to their job or school or job coaching, anything that's going to support them in their independence in the community, or quality of life is the big one. And one of the ones that I get probably every single time I do a presentation is, well, what about a vacation? Can my son or daughter use their money to pay for a vacation? Well, let me ask you, what do you say, Megan? Does a vacation support your quality of life?
Oh, absolutely. I could use one right now.
Exactly. So the difference is, for example, my daughter has an ABLE account and she wanted to go to Disney. And it was something as a goal she had set for herself for some time. And eventually she saved up enough money in her ABLE account to pay for her tickets to the park and her airfare. The difference was she couldn't use her ABLE funds to pay for her whole family, her brothers, her parents to go to the park, because the ABLE account is intended for the benefit of the beneficiary, the person with the disability. But yes, absolutely, a vacation is going to support that quality of life. So you can see it's very diverse.
And that actually then leads me into my next question, in that, how would someone know if their student qualifies for an ABLE account? It's reasonable to assume, based on what I've heard you say, that I personally cannot just walk into a bank and be like, I want to open an ABLE account for myself.
Yes, Patrick, I'm glad you said that you were going to walk into a bank and open an ABLE account, because that is something that you're not going to want to do, because you actually are going to probably get a teller that's like, an ABLE what? What are you talking about? Many of the bank tellers don't know what you're talking about. So ABLE accounts are opened online by visiting the website of your state's program. Like here in Maryland, it's www.marylandable.org. And that's how you can initiate the enrollment process.
Like so many of the things, when you leave the school system, it goes from entitlement to eligibility. How do you know if you are eligible to receive the benefits of an ABLE account?
Yes, eligibility. So when we look at the criteria for opening an ABLE account, it's basically two criteria. The person enrolling in the account has to have a disability that meets the Social Security Administration's definition of a disability. So that doesn't mean they have to currently be receiving SSI. It just means that they would be eligible for SSI because they have a qualifying disability, which is something that is going to be present with them throughout their lifetime and has a significant enough impact in their daily lives, their ability to work, live, learn completely independently over a long period of time, right? So they don't have to be receiving it, but they have to have that disability. Currently, today, it's the 9th of December in 2025. They had to have the onset of that disability prior to their 26th birthday. So anyone listening from the school system, they already know their child's under 26. But that actually is expanding come January 1st of 2026, thanks to the Able Age Adjustment Act. And that eligibility criteria is going to be increased to anyone that had the onset of their disability before their 46th birthday. So I know that really doesn't apply to us so much with the school system, but it certainly helps a lot of people like veterans that may have had a diagnosis later in life, people that experience a car accident and have a traumatic brain injury. If they were over the age of 26, they couldn't have an ABLE account, but this is going to help a lot of other people. So that's the criteria. And, the types of things that are going to qualify would be things such as autism spectrum disorder, Down syndrome, intellectual disabilities, spina bifida. I mean, it could be epilepsy. There's just all kinds of disabilities. Someone's blind or deaf or hard of hearing. So when you go to enroll in the ABLE account, it'll actually give you a drop-down menu to select the disability that suits your family member.
And then who owns the ABLE account?
That's a really great question, and I'm glad you asked, because this is important to know that the person with the disability, no matter what age they are, is the owner of the ABLE account. They're both the owner and the beneficiary. And this is going to be true if a family were to have a child born and they know right away that they have a disability. They could open an ABLE account for an infant, and the infant is the owner of that ABLE account. Obviously, when you have a child that has an ABLE account, we have to have an adult helping them to open the account and manage it. And in the ABLE space, we call this person the authorized legal representative, or the ALR. And this is usually a parent or a grandparent or guardian that's going to serve in that capacity.
What about after 18? I have a lot of families that ask me, do I have to be a guardian to open an ABLE account with my child?
No, you don't have to be a guardian. We have it set up so that if you've already opened the ABLE account and you're the person that's, the parent that's managing the account, you can continue in that capacity. Unless, let's just say you have a child that had an ABLE account, they grow up, they've learned how to manage finances, and they are capable of managing their own ABLE account. After 18, they could step in and do that job themselves if they wanted. We do have ABLE account holders that manage their own account, but we also have a lot of account holders that even after they turn 18, they prefer to have some assistance with it. Someone to help them, guide them through the account management process, maybe make some financial decisions with them. So a parent can stay on in that role without having guardianship.
And that's important because I know a lot that are looking at some alternatives to guardianship, just like a power of attorney. And they want to make sure, well, I don't need to have this guardianship just to help them manage, anything moving further financially.
Yes, they can have guardianship. If they have guardianship, they would upload their guardianship papers at the time of enrollment. If not, if they did have a power of attorney, they could use that. But if they don't, it will give you some criteria of who can serve in that capacity. So it could be a parent, it could be, siblings, grandparents, somebody serving as representative payee, or if they're older, if they had a spouse or children, they could help as well.
Oh, good. So it sounds like it walks them through pretty well.
And when somebody opens an ABLE account, is there like a minimum contribution? Where does it start?
So once the person enrolls in the ABLE account and they set up their account name and password and do all that process, it is going to ask a person to link an existing bank account of their choice to their ABLE account that's being set up online. So this could be a person's regular checking or savings account. It could be with any bank. It could be a national bank, a regional bank, a savings and loan. It doesn't matter. Whatever is most convenient for mom or dad or who's ever setting the account up. And once that account, that checking or savings account is linked to the ABLE account, mom and dad can make an electronic transfer. That first contribution has to be a minimum of $25. It could be more if they wanted, but that initial funding to get that account started is $25. It's not a fee. It's their actual first contribution. And from that point on, the ALR can go in there and they could set up monthly contributions if they want electronically, or they could just log in whenever they please every couple of months and make contributions. And it's all done through that linked bank account. So it's like an online banking. Any parent that does any online banking for bill pays or just checks their balance on their checking or savings account, it's going to be very similar to that through the dashboard of the ABLE account.
So let's say they have money coming in from SSI and they want to make sure it's not going to go every 2,000 every month. They could just, slide it right over into that ABLE account. That's very handy.
Yes. So I know when I opened my daughter's account, she was only 14. She didn't have a checking account. She didn't have a job, obviously. She was still in school. So we used mom and dad's just regular checking account because we were the ones putting money in and taking it out when she needed it. But then at age 21, age 20, my daughter started receiving SSI benefits. I took that rep payee account and I added it to her ABLE account as a linked bank account. So that way, whatever money my daughter doesn't spend from her monthly benefit, I
Mhm.
just electronically slide it over into ABLE, which now once it's inside ABLE is not a countable resource. Because after the excruciating journey that it took 2 years to get my daughter approved for SSI benefits, you can bet your buttons I'm not letting that rep payee account go over $2,000. I
And
mean,
that's a huge fear. I know.
it's
Let's
a
not
lot.
jeopardize it.
But then at the same time, it does sound like there is some flexibility. And what I mean by that is like, so for example, if you had a grandmother or grandfather who wanted to contribute money, then they can provide the money to, the bank holder, and then that money can then go into this account as it was intended. Grandma and grandpa wanted to send the money.
Mhm.
They could, but I'm going to give you one better solution than that, Patrick. And you're going to love this because
I'm already loving
all
it. I'm
ABLE
there.
account, Maryland ABLE has what they call a gifting page that comes with every ABLE account. And it's so easy to use. You just, from the online account dashboard, you click on the gifting page and you send a link to family and friends by email, by text, by messenger, folks that would normally perhaps be purchasing gifts around the holiday season, birthdays, graduations, whatever. You can send them a gift, a link to the gift page. That recipient, when they get it, it'll say, would you like to make a contribution to Patrick's ABLE account? If I click yes, I put the amount of money in and where I'm sending it from. When I hit send, it goes directly into the ABLE account. It never passes through any, countable resources, which is wonderful. And then the best part is anyone that's making those contributions to ABLE, if they live in Maryland, they can use that gift contribution as an income subtraction on their Maryland state taxes.
Ooh.
So grandma and grandpa want to, put money away for the future for their grandchild, they can do it and get an income subtraction on their taxes. Mom and dad as well. Anybody, any friends, they don't have to be relatives. Everybody can enjoy that if they lived in Maryland and paid Maryland taxes.
How many linked accounts can you have connected to the ABLE account?
You can have as many as you want as long as those linked accounts are in the name of either the account holder or the ALR.
Okay.
So I hope one day my daughter gets a job. She's working towards that goal. And if that, when that happens, she'll probably have a checking account where her paycheck will get direct deposited to. You will bet your buttons I will be linking that to her ABLE
Mhm.
account as well, so that we don't let that account get over-resourced and that she still can save it and access it whenever she needs it.
That was another question that comes up. How do I access it? I mean, there's no bank to go to, there's no ATM. Where do I get my money?
There's no ATM. You're not going to drive down the road and see the Bank of Maryland ABLE or any ABLE program or anything. So it's all managed online. So the way we take a withdrawal from our ABLE account is I log into my daughter's ABLE account with her username and password. Her dashboard pops up and there's a line that says transfer. I click on it and I select withdrawal. It'll ask me how much money I want to withdraw and which of those linked bank accounts I want to send it to.
Oh.
And that's how I take the withdrawal. Mm-hmm.
Then don't you have to take it out immediately so it doesn't impact the SSI?
We wouldn't want to move the assets into a linked bank account in their own name unless they were going to use it to spend it.
Okay.
Okay?
Gotcha.
So what a person could do, like let's just say want to be able to give a teenage or an adult age ABLE account owner access to their ABLE funds. One of the things that Maryland ABLE has in place is called the prepaid card option. And I love the prepaid card option because it gives them access to their funds, but not all the funds in their ABLE account.
Mhm.
Because when I load my daughter's prepaid card, it only has enough money on it to what I put in there. So if she had $5,000 in her ABLE account, she doesn't have access to all of that. She may have access to $200. And it's been a wonderful financial literacy tool for her.
Mm-hmm.
Mind sharing that she has an intellectual disability. So this idea of money and finances and savings and budgeting, that is like really very abstract for her. It was tough. But we decided to get the prepaid card. It's an optional feature, and we decided to use it because we wanted her to be able to be empowered to make her own choices about spending money in her ABLE account. But we wanted to give her a budget, if you will. Now, that word meant nothing to her at the time. She just knew that at the start of every month, she has a specific amount of money on her prepaid card where she can decide how to spend it. But there was a lot of life lessons along the way because sometimes, and we all know this, none of us are born knowing how to budget or save, right? We learn it the hard way. So sometimes she'd have access to her card and she'd be at a store and she'd see something really awesome and she'd want to buy it. And she'd say, but this is my money. I can spend it, right? If I want to. And I say, you can. But remember, you've got that trip planned. You want to go to Hershey Park at the end of the month and you're supposed to be going with a friend. Are we going to have enough money for Hershey Park? And that it kind of was this concrete, like practical way for her to go, oh, okay, yeah. So she sometimes has to make hard choices about that. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
she goes with the impulse and sometimes she saves for the big goal, but it taught a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's been really helpful for her. And I think for a lot of transitioning age youth to give them a chance to practice in a safe way.
And it's very age appropriate.
Yes. And think about it, Megan, like usually when we go out to a store or a restaurant, are we whipping out cash? The majority of the time, we are all presenting a debit card, a credit card, or something. So in school, we spend a lot of time teaching our kids about how to make change and make purchases. But realistically, they don't have a lot of practice doing that because we usually don't have cash. So this is a way for her to, she can see from her phone how much money is on her debit card. I'm sorry, her prepaid card. She knows how much money she had, how much money she spent. So it was a good way to sort of teach that. And then I got a little tricky. I started adding things in like her making the payment for her cell phone came out of her prepaid card. And that was a eye-opening experience. She's like, well, what happened to my money here? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, guess what? This is what it's like to be an adult. We have these things that we have to pay for, like your phone. Well, she didn't even realize you had to pay for a phone. And why would she? Right?
Right.
Because our kids aren't thinking about that. So
Mm-hmm.
we're taking these baby steps into learning about making decisions about how our money is spent. Do want to mention though, if people do want the prepaid card, it doesn't automatically come with the ABLE account. It's an option. You can order it at any time. You don't have to order it when you open the account. You can order it a couple months later or whenever, but it is an additional fee of $1.25 for the month. And that's whether you use the card 10 times or you don't use it at all. To me, I decided it was a good choice for our family for the financial literacy piece, but also for convenience. I'm not going to lie. I am all about making my life as streamlined and simplified as possible. So when I would do things like pay for my daughter's special needs summer camp, instead of me charging it on my credit card and then taking money out of her ABLE account to pay me back for my credit card payment, now I just use her prepaid card to pay for her summer camp. And it just removes that extra step. So
Yeah.
for $15 a year, it gave me convenient access, but you don't have to have it if you don't want.
Well, then playing off of that, because it's funny, that was going to be one of my questions is that, oh, does it have a debit card? But now you have this prepaid card and there is potentially a fee that is associated with it. For an ABLE account in general, are there fees associated with it?
Yes, great question. So currently, our annual maintenance fee, and it has been for the last 8 years, it's $35 for the year. It is prorated, so anyone that opened the account yesterday is probably going to pay just a couple dollars this year because they didn't have the account, January through mid-December. And it is assessed quarterly. So it's $8.75 4 times a year, and it's withdrawal directly from the account. And the reason that we have an account maintenance fee is because the Maryland ABLE program is facilitated under the Maryland State Treasurer's Office. So we have, 3 full-time folks here that work as administrators for the program, myself included. But the Treasurer's Office is not a bank. we needed to partner with financial institutions. The Bank of New York Mellon is the one that's holding $134 million of assets that are being saved right now by over 8,000 Maryland Able account holders. They're holding that money in trust, so that's where it is. And then we've partnered with Vestwell, which is the financial technology company that runs our website, processes those banking transactions back and forth between the linked bank accounts, issues third-party checks when requested, makes those purchases for investments. So they're doing that back-end banking piece. So for $35 a year, that's what that covers, as well as our customer support team that's available Monday through Friday, 9 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. And they operate our website. So they really get a lot for $35 a year, but that is the fee.
I know you mentioned too earlier, our specific web page is Maryland Able because it's Maryland. Are there many states that have the Able account?
Currently, there's 47 ABLE programs nationwide, and Maryland is just one of them. So when people decide on which ABLE program they want to be with, they do have a choice. If you live in Maryland and you're interested in opening an account in another state for whatever reason, if that state is open for national enrollment, you can do so. There's a couple of states, I know Florida for sure, and I think Louisiana, they're restricted to just in-state residents because Florida pays the administrative fees. There is no annual maintenance fee in Florida. So they're not going to let people from other states open Florida ABLE accounts because their state treasury is paying for that. So that's how it works. And if people are interested in learning about, other ABLE programs around the country, I have some great resources. One is called Able Today. It's www.abletoday, all spelled out, .org, pardon me. And that will show you all the ABLE programs that exist. There's a comparison tool to find out what their investment features are, their account fees, all that kind of stuff is there, as well as some really good tools to just learn about ABLE legislation, ABLE accounts in general. They've got podcasts, they've got archived webinars, like lots of cool things for that, as well as the ABLE National Resource Center. There's another website that you can go to that also has similar, resources and fact sheets and things like that. So it's a good place to learn.
So if I had an Able account in Maryland, but I ended up moving to another state with an Able account, will it just transfer over to that state?
That's a good question. You have options. You could either take your Maryland Able to whatever state you move to and continue to manage it, because remember, it's linked to your existing bank account. You don't have to be in the state of Maryland to do it. So you can continue with your Maryland Able account, but we do recommend anytime someone moves, at least examine the state ABLE program for the state that you're living in, because you may have tax benefits there that you're no longer going to have in Maryland. So you don't pay Maryland taxes anymore. So your contributions cannot be used as an income subtraction if you move to California, right? You'd want to look into California's ABLE or CalABLE and see maybe they offer a tax benefit, and you can roll that money over with no penalties or fees.
So one question that I had, as you use the term investment feature, do ABLE accounts earn interest?
They do. We have here in Maryland, our program has a couple of different options. We have currently a cash savings option, which is an FDIC insured savings. And I believe, oh my goodness, if I can remember my daughter's last statement, I believe she was receiving 3.6% interest at the time. It's all tax-free earnings. We also have 4 investment options. These are portfolios that were created for Maryland Able and managed by Vanguard. And that current choices could be what we call a fixed income, which is 100% in bonds. So it's a low risk option. Depending upon how bonds are doing, it may not be earning a lot in interest, but it's, people sometimes want that. We also have a conservative option where 80% of that portfolio is in bonds and just 20% is in the market. So it's not very volatile, but it does have some potential growth from the stock market. We have a moderate, which is a 50-50 split between stocks and bonds. And then we have our aggressive investment option, which is going to be 84% in the market and 16% in bonds. So it's really just depending upon, hey, how are we going to use this money in our ABLE account? Are we going to use our ABLE account as a very transactionary account, meaning mom and dad are putting money in and then they're making monthly payments for orthodontist or whatever? So, those folks tend to go towards that cash savings option because they're going to access those funds frequently. Some parents are like, no, we got everything covered right now. We're not using any funds from the ABLE account. We want to put the money in and use it as a long-term investment. We're not planning on accessing this for 10, 15, 20 years. They tend to go with one of the, other investment. But good news is you don't have to just pick one. You could do some of your money. You could put in the cash savings. You could put other contributions into the one of the other portfolios. Technically, you could have all 5 of them if you chose to do that. I mean, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to do that as a strategy, but you could, because every time they make a contribution to the ABLE account, the ALR gets to direct where those funds go. And do I want to put this $50 contribution into cash, or do I want to put this $50 contribution into one of these investment portfolios?
We've heard you talk a lot about how to get started, how the system works. In your experience, do you think that there's an ideal time that a family would open an account?
Patrick, I love that you asked that question, because a lot of folks, especially that I've encountered over the last 7 years that I've been with Maryland ABLE, who have transitioning age youth or students or family members, they tend to wait until the very last minute because they're like, they're not getting any SSI right now. I really don't need that right now. But they're missing out on a wonderful opportunity. I know in my journey is a little bit differently because my daughter was born with a brain injury, and there was extensive hospitalizations and medical expenses and medical equipment and diagnostics and continued hospitalizations over the years. Had ABLE accounts existed back then, it would have been a game changer for my family, because I know that, when we were in the hospital for 101 days in intensive care, friends were calling and saying, what can I do? Other than bringing a meal over to feed my other children and my husband who was taking care of them at home, I could have said, yeah, we're facing $700 a month equipment rental. We're, facing the specialty formula that was $400 a month. We didn't have any benefits for that. We didn't have Medicaid or anything. People could have used that gifting page and helped out. So there's that for those with the wee ones, people that are starting out with a child that's diagnosed early. You can take advantage of using those funds to pay for all the additional costs that we have in raising a child with a disability. But I think that it also, along the way, sets an example about saving money and putting money aside. And we try to talk to my daughter about how we put money into her ABLE account, and we're saving some for the future. We're using some now. But mostly to get that low-lying fruit done, check the simple stuff off the list, because when you get to that transition age and the closer you get to exiting the school system, it's just like things are flying at you left and right. And it's things that you've been talking about in your IEP meetings for years. Oh my gosh, now you got to take action on all this stuff. Get that account set up long before the transition time, because you don't want to get to the situation where your family member has money in their own name more than $2,000. And it's possible, guys. Over 18 years, mom and dad, grandparents put money into a checking or savings account for them. It could be over $2,000. Don't be denied SSI benefits because your child has an eligible disability, but they had too much money. So I say, take care of that low-lying fruit.
Great point, because I know, we start working with families when their child turns 14, and I know that 15, 16, 17 families will ask, well, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? Because you can't do a lot until they reach that milestone of 18. This is one of those things that you're right. They can check off the list and they don't have to worry about it. And I have encountered families who didn't realize it until it was almost too late that there was too much money in an account because, the grandparents passed away and left an inheritance, and they didn't think of anything of it. They just figured they'd be set for the future, not realizing the jeopardy they were putting the SSI and the Medicaid in. So just to have it prepared and know that it's there to keep you on track is a great option.
I'm glad you mentioned the inheritances because if I had a dollar for every time the phone rang that said, "Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
great Aunt Elizabeth passed away. I didn't even know it, but she left my daughter or my son, like $8,000 life
Yeah.
insurance policy. They can't have this. We're going to lose all of our benefits. And I need to get this Able account open yesterday now because now I don't know what I'm going to do with this money, but they said Able could help me with it. And also, let me warn you, those back payments. So even let's just say your
Yeah.
child doesn't have a lot of money in their own savings or checking and you apply for SSI and they get it, but it takes sometimes 9 months, sometimes longer, 18 months, 2
Yes.
years longer. You will get a substantial back payment from the time that you applied. These back payments can be 2,000, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000. It depends on how long and how much of a back payment. To no fault of your own, you're already over-resourced.
Yeah.
So then they have this situation where like we got to spend it down within this 9-month period. But what if they don't need it right then and there? Why are you just blowing through money just to get it out of their bank account when you could put that back payment in the Able account and access it when they actually need it? A lot of people that have benefited from the Able account from the back payments.
You are so right, because I have brought that up many a times when families have told me that they're waiting, waiting, waiting. I said, "Well, get ready, because it's gonna come and it's gonna hit you hard, so you need to put that somewhere."
Yes. Good
Yeah.
advice.
I learned from the best.
Are there any other things? Because again, the whole conversation has been peppered with examples and scenarios, but what are other things that families can use this money for?
Well, it really can be literally anything. If I even was going to give you the cheater notes of the two things that the IRS has said you cannot use Able account funds for, I'll tell you right up front. It's
Mhm.
gambling and purchasing gifts for other people. The reason they say that is because Able accounts are intended for the use of the beneficiary, the person with the disability. So they want to keep that really cut and dry. So if a person with a disability wants to buy a gift for Mother's Day, Father's Day, holidays, birthdays, whatever, use another source of funds because that's one of the things that they do want to make sure that this is limited to the folks that are the beneficiaries. So there's so many ways that they can use it, saving for a special trip, or if someone's able to drive a car and they're saving up for that car, they can use it as a down payment on a car. They can put gas in the car with their Able prepaid card. They can get oil changes with it because, again, this is something that's promoting their independence in the community. I've had people purchase an automobile. I've had people do special trips. I've had people make modifications to a home that wasn't covered, or sometimes folks that use those motorized wheelchairs as they're growing over the years.
Yes.
Sometimes they grow a little faster than what Medicaid says that they can have a new chair for. So your child has outgrown that motorized chair and it's thousands of dollars, but you have to wait until Medicaid says you have to wait another year or whatever. Use the prepaid, use the card, use the Able account, buy the prepaid card. And that would be a great thing to send out to family and friends saying, our son has outgrown this chair, but Medicaid says we can't have one for another 18 months. And
Right.
can I share with you out of the 8,333 Maryland Able account holders, there are 738 of them that are consistently using their gifting page around the holidays and birthdays and special occasions. And over the last 8 years, have received over $5 million in gifts.
Wow.
You can't argue with the data. I mean, I love getting that data in because it's like, wow, why not use the gifting pages, especially if you have a really good reason that you're saving for a specific goal.
And I know around this time, a lot of families are wondering, "What do I get them?" This is a great option.
Absolutely.
All right. You didn't bring it up, and I thought you were going to. When we talk about goals, did your daughter go to Disney World?
She did. It took her about 3 years. And I was shocked that she set such a long-term goal when I was talking about savings because it's hard, guys. It's
Mhm.
hard for us. Like we want things and we're like, but then there's this really cool restaurant I want to try. I mean, come on, we got to admit, it's hard to stick to a long-term goal. But she did it and can I tell you how proud of herself she was to be able to go to Disney, get her own tickets, go to wherever she wanted to eat there. It was a really, it was the magical in the sense that she was at Disney, but to see that she stuck to her guns and saved that. So,
That's awesome. So
yeah.
where's the next trip going to be? Has she decided?
Well, it's funny that you say that because in middle school, she was still in an inclusive classroom back in middle school. And they had a trip that was going to go to Spain that summer for anybody in the 6th grade. And she wanted to go. And we went to the meeting and they were talking about when the deposits were due and this, that, and the other. And I talked to the person afterwards. I said, obviously, Lily wants to go. She's probably going to need some help. I'd be happy to pay my own way to go with her or whatever. And they're like, well, we can't do that. We can't let any, non-school staff person, and we don't have a person we can dedicate to her. So she was brokenhearted. She couldn't go. Ever since then, she said she's going to Spain. So now she's saving money to go to Spain.
Well, good for her.
That's going to be a long-term goal. I don't think she has any idea how much that airfare is, but she's like, I didn't get to go and other people did. My friends went and I never got a chance. I'm going to go to Spain. And I'm like, all right, well, go ahead, start saving for it.
There you go.
Does she know where in Spain she wants to go?
No, she just knows Spain.
To Spain.
Okay.
To Spain.
Well, tell her Barcelona is absolutely fantastic.
I would love to go there. I hope she picks there because I want to go with her. It's definitely on my bucket list. So yeah, just being able to use it for special savings goals. And sometimes they're like not that expensive, but it's something that's important to this student that they want. It could be a new laptop or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge trip to Spain, but pretty cool.
I think we've gone through all of our questions.
I think we ran out of questions.
I appreciate all of this. I genuinely had no idea. Like, that's one of the things that I love about this is that now, like, I'm as I am listening to you talk, I'm already thinking of like 3 or 4 of my students who I'm like, I'm going to reach out to their families.
Well, that makes me happy. And I cannot tell you how much Maryland Able appreciates our partnership with our school systems. The county has always been a wonderful partner to us, inviting us to all the resource fairs, giving us opportunities and other presentations, because I mentioned there's 3 full-time staff that cover the entire state of Maryland. We cannot possibly be talking to everyone all the time. And our educators are at the table. They're at the IEP meetings, the annual meetings, and they have this wonderful opportunity to share that one-page flyer that MSDE created in collaboration with Maryland Able last year that just, provides an overview. And I get it. I've been the parent at the table. I mean, my daughter exited at 21. She started at 101 days old with the school system. So I've been in a lot of IFSP meetings and IEP meetings. And sometimes we can't hear things the first 2, 5, 10 times we see it. But eventually, as we get closer to that transition period and we're seeing it again and again, and we're being told about it, I'm really seeing where families are coming up to me at these resource fairs and saying, oh my gosh, I learned about this at my IEP meeting. It was always there, or people were talking about it before, but the light bulb is starting to go on. So thank you for the work that you're doing and helping us to connect with families.
Absolutely. And we always appreciate you coming to our fair and our workshops. I know we have one coming up in the spring. So we appreciate your knowledge and your willingness to give us the information to share out.
Thank you. We love it.
Well, fantastic. Well, I'm going to say that is going to be a great place for us then to end this conversation. Kelly, cannot thank you enough. Fantastic.
It was a great conversation. I love it.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun and I really appreciate it.
Our discussions are everywhere. Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, and others. So hit that follow button and you won't miss out. Please, if you haven't already done so, consider leaving a review, preferably 5-star. It helps you spread the word and it helps us because we know you're listening. Links to the information from our conversations are always in our show notes. Our YouTube channel contains curated videos that revolve around transition, including playlists for guardianship, alternatives to guardianship, able accounts, and more to come. And then finally, check out our website, www.postsecondary transition.com, full of information and links to more resources. Thanks so much for your time spent with us, and we look forward to talking again soon.